everyone to settle in. I hope everyone's having a good week so far. All right.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and get started now that I've paused a little bit and just let everyone kind of trickle in. If you trickle in later in this meeting, this is being recorded and we'll share that later so anyone can see it afterwards. Today, we're going to be talking about educating Montessori parents to build stronger school communities, and I'm going to be sharing some parent ed strategies that can hopefully help your Montessori school this year. So welcome to Thrive, first and foremost. These meetings happen weekly. I see some familiar faces, some new ones. So welcome if it's your first town hall, and welcome back if you've been with us before. We host these weekly every month of the year other than July and August as it's summer break. We're here every Thursday from 1:30 to 2:30 p.m. Eastern on Zoom to create a space for Montessori leaders to connect, find support, and discuss important leadership topics. And here at Montessori Thrive and Nido Marketing, we focus on helping Montessori schools grow their enrollment. So that's our aim, and this is kind of a platform where people can come together and find support. All right, let's go ahead and get started on the topic. So why focus on parent education? Well, families who have parenting support in your community are going to feel so much more aligned with your mission. I think every Montessori school has, their mission on their website, or it's kind of a core of what you stand for. And if you want people to really be aligned and you want to have that strong sense of community, it's important to make sure that they're educated on what Montessori is and they feel a sense of guidance and support from you. So there are many, many reasons. First and foremost, it helps parents manage their expectations. We know this is so important. Nothing is harder to navigate than when a family, enrolls at your school and expects it to run like a daycare or expects it to run like a traditional school. Educating families correctly allows them to really understand what Montessori looks like. It also helps students when they're receiving similar messages and signals at home and at school. It, as we know, it helps Montessori resonate so much more. It helps parents feel supported. Parents want guidance. When you walk out of the neighborhood, out of the hospital with your child, they don't give you a free handbook. A lot of parents do a lot of research nowadays when it comes to finding out what school they want. They really want that sense of support. It also forms a stronger school culture. So we know that as a Montessori school, you probably put so much work into your branding, into your messaging, your mission, that when you educate families on Montessori, you're going to create a more unified group of people who have the same goals. They understand that what you have there is a partnership with parents. They're on the same page as you. It also helps your school become a thought leader, which we know is hugely important, especially in Montessori marketing, because that's ultimately what we are as marketers. By educating families, you become a source of knowledge for these families. You become a thought leader, and that sets you apart from other schools. That gives you an edge. We know there's a lot of value there, so it's great to have that. It also helps with retention so that you can grow your enrollment. So basically, focusing on parent education is almost like internal marketing. So once you've gotten those parents to commit and apply and enroll at your school, educating them on the benefits so that they see the true value of Montessori is going to encourage them to stay. We know that this is especially valuable for that third year of primary, where they're choosing between, a public kindergarten or staying that third year in the Montessori in the Montessori primary classroom. So things like that, it's really important to properly educate your families and show them the key benefits of Montessori. All right, I want to stop right here and ask, what does your school do? We want to hear your advice and experiences before diving into some of our strategies. So feel free to leave a message in the comments or unmute yourselves. This is an open forum. I'd love to hear what you're doing at your school to help educate families and community build. So before we dive into our own strategies, let's see here in the chat. We have a family education event once every 1 to 2 months. That's great, Kelsey. Events are great. They could be online, virtual, or they can be in person now, that there's much less restrictions. Anyone else have any suggestions, ideas, or anything that they have implemented in their own communities? Parent night every term plus silent journey and discovery from Francia. That's great. Tina says parent and student nights. Parents become the students twice a year when their children give them lessons. It's a great idea. Becky says, we're trying to establish the silent journey program this year. We have parent support groups and a couple of parent nights throughout the year. That's great. And then Jill says, we send a weekly newsletter that focuses on one aspect of Montessori and how they can apply at home. Mia says education nights scheduled throughout the year, parent and child nights in the classroom environments. It's also great. All right, some great ideas here. Flint again said, I would love to start a Montessori theory book club. That would be great. Great, so feel free to comment some more in the chat. We'll share the chat transcript with anyone as well who's joined in so they can see and maybe get some inspiration. I want to start with the first things first of parent education, and that's managing your community expectations. I think something that's important to recognize is that not all families are going to be as connected as you'd like them to be. Make sure that you're providing several ways for them to connect and learn at their convenience. We know that some parents are busier than others, and some of them are going to be really hard to reach. You might be sending out, weekly newsletters and emails and daily reminders about certain things, and then they come and they say, oh, I haven't heard about this yet, or why did I just find out about this? And it can be really frustrating and difficult. I think a lot of school leaders have been there and experienced that, and it's not the best feeling. But I think something that's really important to recognize is just trying to make the effort and organizing things and being out there on as many platforms as possible is enough. You're not going to get through every single parent, as long as they have access to what's truly important, and you have the ability to check in with them. I think you can feel out which parents may need a little bit of additional checking in and which ones are really just aligned with your mission already and which ones are on board with doing Montessori at home and everything. So it's important to check in with those families who may need a little bit of extra support, but realize that everyone has a different schedule, has a different capacity to do these kinds of things. All right, so parent education really should start before applying. So it really starts when the parent is on their school search journey. A school that has great parent education strategies know that it's so valuable to start educating parents right from the beginning. So what are the steps that you can take as a school to make sure this happens? First and foremost, have a blog that's well-written, informative, and digestible to families that are new to Montessori. And what I mean by this is it's great sometimes when we have our guides write these beautiful Montessori articles and blogs. A lot of the times parents don't know what grace and courtesy mean. They might not know what sensitive periods mean. They might not know what this Montessori terminology means yet. They're on that discovery journey still of figuring out what type of school they want. So make sure that when you write your blogs, have some of them be really digestible for fresh eyes. Maybe have a proofreader who doesn't know that much about Montessori and ask them, do you get what I'm saying here? Does this make sense? Make sure it's not, difficult to understand for parents who are just learning about Montessori. Secondly, offer informative packets on your website. In marketing, we call these lead generators, but basically on your website, offer a free PDF download of some Montessori information that's, again, easily digestible. Maybe you have a packet describing the sensitive periods. Maybe you have a packet that kind of explains and walks parents through the planes of development. These are valuable assets that you can add to your website And what's great about making them lead generators from a marketing perspective is that for parents to be able to access these informative packets, they have to hand over their contact information, so their email, so you can follow up, check in with them, and ask them if they'd like to come in for a tour, which is ultimately going to help you grow your community and enrollment. Also, what's great is those parents are going to get to understand a little bit more about Montessori before they maybe come in for that initial visit, which is good. They have a little bit of a foundation, and they kind of have more questions to maybe ask and inquire about. I've linked this here. I'll do a little tour later of our resource collection, because we have some lead generators to get you started if you don't have the time to create some. That way you can get them added to your website. Another great thing you can do here is plan open houses that help families understand the key benefits of Montessori. I'm sure many schools are already doing this, which is great. But it's great to kind of have an education-focused open house where you're really explaining and diminishing the myths and misconceptions of what Montessori is. Offer easy to consume content for new families. I mentioned this about writing your blogs in a digestible way. Something that I really love for this is our one-pagers, where we basically went in and made a list of the most frequently asked questions in Montessori, and we answered them in one page in a way that's really easy to understand, so that parents who are new to Montessori can learn and approach it. And then, of course, have a social media presence so families can connect. This doesn't hurt, and it's free to do. I see some more comments in the chat, so I'm going to pause here. I see Alyssa here mentioned that she has a Montessori journey for years pre-COVID, and I'm happy to share the docs. That would be great. And then Sarah here, we have a monthly community coffee event with formal parent education night scheduled virtually, plus parent-child shared nights. That's great. All right. Does anyone have any questions or comments on this slide before moving on to the next one? Any ideas on how you can start kind of the education process before application? Where can we access the one-pagers? This sounds great. Great question, Sarah. So all of these one-pagers are on our Montessori Thrive collection. I'll do a little run through of them now, because this is a link here. Oh, can you see the new link?
Yes.
So yes, here are Montessori answered one-pagers. They're available on my .montessorithrive.com. We have quite an extensive list of them here. These are all of the most frequently asked questions that we've had now. If you think of one as well that you don't see on this page, please let us know and we'll add it to the collection as well. We do these via requests, but you can download all of these and give them out to parents, or just have them in your office to hand out. You can put them in a booklet. They're hugely helpful, and we've made sure to use language again that is very easy for parents who are new to Montessori to understand. So hopefully it's it's helpful. All right, see it in the chat here. Thank you. All right, just gonna make this large again. All right. So move on to the next slide. So how can you make an educational Montessori website? Many times, the first impression that your prospective parents are going to be forming is from your website. We know that they usually will look you up on Google or look at your website before they even schedule a tour. So it's incredibly important to have little pockets of information on your website. And you can make your website an unsubconscious parenting education tool, meaning, you know, the parent is on your website and they're absorbing all this information without knowing that, you know, it's part of the parenting education process. So I'm going to do a little website tour of our sample website. And this is just kind of an example of a website that we would create. But basically here, you can see that when you're on a home page already, there's a little bit of education here. So there's a little bit of, here is what I like to call word community. This is the managing expectation element of it. You're explaining on your homepage, it's more than just the children. We view our relationships with you as a partnership, working together. You're letting the parent know that if they want to be a part of your school, it's more of a community. We want the parents to be on board. We want to support them. So that's kind of, they're reading this and they're taking it in and they're understanding. And the program information, you're informing them, what is the aim of this program? What is your child going to take away? Why is it different than other programs? This is all part of parenting education. And then, of course, I have here our blog. So all of the blogs are really explaining to parents who don't know about what Montessori is, what it is. So the role of a Montessori teacher. To somebody who doesn't know what Montessori is, this is a hugely helpful blog. The benefits of multi-age grouping. Then when you go and click on one of these sample blogs, you see that the language is quite easy to understand. There's a little bit of Montessori vocabulary, but it's very digestible for parents who are new to this. And some of our blogs as well will have infographics, things like that, to make the information a little bit easier to absorb. All of this is important to have on your website. You can also, as I mentioned, on your homepage, add those lead generators, those information packets that parents can download. All of this makes the parent kind of explore Montessori through your website. They know a little bit more about it. They learned it from you, which makes you a thought leader. So it's really building a strong foundation. So your website can be a hugely helpful tool in your parenting education strategy. If you have a really well-written blog as well with purposeful content that is applicable, that's going to keep parents reading your blogs and coming back for more. I think a lot of the times we write only about what happens in the classroom, which is really great. Parents want to know what's happening in the classrooms. They want to learn more about what their children will be learning. It's great as well to have some practical parenting information and things like that in blogs. So mix it up. So here, it's a little bit of a mix. All right. So yes, definitely consider doing this on your website. If you have any ideas or suggestions as well to what's worked well on your website, feel free to comment in the chat. Any questions as well, I'm happy to answer them, but definitely consider using your website as a tool. All right, manage your expectations early on. Again, as I mentioned, your aim is to have a connected and educated community. Then you need to start to make that clear from the very start. Let families know what's expected of their end of the partnership. I think a lot of our frustrations when it comes to parenting education is when we put so much work into our parenting events. It takes a lot of organizing. A lot of times it's after hours so that parents can actually come after work. It's extra work for our teachers. It's extra work for us as administrators. And nothing is more disappointing than parents who don't show up or don't contribute. So it's really important to let those families know from the very beginning that, this is not a place where we want you to just drop off your child and pick them up and then disconnect. We very much want our parents to be involved. We appreciate parents who come and do some Montessori learning. We provide these events included for all parents. It doesn't cost any extra to participate and hear from experts, from our teachers who organize these parenting events. It really helps to have a written agreement and for parents to understand that there are things that they'll need to do in order to ensure the quality of their child's education, because as we know, it's a partnership. It can't just be Montessori at school and then they're receiving mixed messaging at home and it's very different environment-wise. So it really does help. What I love is maybe doing a parenting agreement, like I mentioned, also including this in your parent handbook. I believe in our collection, we do have a copy of like a parent expectation form, which is really helpful. I think that is part of the parent education process because you want your families to understand that they need to come in and make an effort. If you have any questions or ideas on how you've done that as well, feel free to comment. I'll say that after every slide just to get people to share. All right, so some strategies that can help with this. as I mentioned, be sure to talk about this during the prospective family visit or tour. Say from the very beginning, we really love our families here and we expect them to come to our parenting events. We do parent observations in the classroom, things like this, so that parents know, this is what's expected of me if I were to enroll my child here. Have the document that outlines all of your parent ed events, resources that parents can access. You can even have this on your website as well. You can have an annual calendar for all parent and parenting events. Have that detailed list of everything that's expected of families. Sometimes it's really helpful to just do a bullet point list and have them sign it. And then, it doesn't have to be necessarily a legal contract, but you can just show them, if a parent completely checks out and maybe doesn't bring their child every day to the school, they're treating it like a daycare, you see that it's a different approach than you would like. You can call them in for a meeting. You can say, we signed this document. This is what we expect of our families. We really want your child to have the best experience here. And you have that kind of in writing for them to reference. Share with them all the platforms that they will have access to for school news and updates. I know some of you may be using Brightwheel. Some of you may be on Facebook, on Instagram, Twitter, whatever you may use. Something a parent might be more willing to check than another parent. So maybe some parents just don't check their email. Some of them are only checking social media, etc. So just make sure that you're available. All right, something that I love as well is kind of a parent ed booklet. This is something that you can give to all parents that enroll at your school. You could also add it to your parent handbook. If you have a really well-made handbook, you can just add kind of a whole back section on parent ed and resources for parents. And make sure to tell them to keep that handbook or this booklet throughout their time with you. And that they can use it as a reference throughout their child's education. Fill this booklet with informative articles, resources, blogs, and information about your school. Make sure that your booklet is organized, categorized, and well curated. And by that, I mean, not all of the content should be relevant and helpful to parents. It's important, again, to keep the language easy to understand. So that families who are not so familiar to Montessori can still read it, understand it, and approach it. Obviously, hopefully throughout their time with your school, they will become more accustomed to hearing certain words and phrases, but keep it approachable. What I love about these booklets is you can always tell parents to reference it if they're having a certain challenge. It's also really accessible. As we know, parents like sometimes, especially now that they have busy schedules, to do things on their own time. So when you hand them the booklet and they're having an issue with their child, they know that they have that booklet and they can pull it out when they need to. It's not necessarily on your time. It's not a scheduled and planned parenting event. They can pull it out and reference it whenever they need to. You can also do it virtually. You can have it as a PDF that they can just save on their computer, whatever is easiest for your school, if you're more eco-friendly. But it's a great parenting tool and something I recommend investing some time in if you are willing to. So just some things to include in this booklet, maybe some ideas to help you get started. Again, I love the idea of adding kind of the frequently asked questions, one-pagers that I referenced earlier. This is a great kind of example of something that you can add. And it's pretty much going to answer all of the initial questions that a parent would have, and they have it there in writing and so that they can reference it and look back on it. Another thing I love, and I linked it here because we have it on our Montessori Thrive collection, is including a Montessori dictionary. This is for those parents who are new to our terminology. They may not know what we mean yet by sensitive periods or practical life or sensorial, things like this that maybe they don't understand in a Montessori lens. They can go and look into and learn, because we ultimately want them to understand our lingo so that when they do come in for observation, they kind of are piecing things together and everything's coming full circle and they get excited and they want to stay in Montessori. So it's a great addition. Detailed program and curriculum information as well. A scope and sequence is great for this. If you have a visual as well or an infographic of your scope and sequence, this is great to add because some parents are really data driven, meaning that They want to see a breakdown of the curriculum. They want to see what lessons is my child going to be learning? Where are they going to be academically by the time that they finish this program? Are they going to be ready to transition into a new school? All of these questions, they can refer to the book. They can see the scope and sequence. And then when they meet with your teachers, you can talk about this. They can reference it in their booklet. So it's great to add. Infographics. Again, making the content as digestible to new eyes as possible. We do have infographics available on Montessori Thrive as well for those who are looking for some informative kind of charts and graphs and things like that. Also, try to look at AMI and AMS. They have some great breakdown of information that you could put in your booklets. It's really digestible as well. But I recommend doing that. Tips for parenting challenges. This is a huge one. And this is what's going to make your booklet so valuable to parents, because ultimately they want something that's going to help them solve a problem. Then they'll keep it around, then they'll reference it much more. So we know that, parents go through things like tantrums, sleeping schedules, toilet training, etc. So if you have a few pages dedicated to each kind of parenting challenge or milestone that they can reference, and that again, you created, that is going to add so much value to your school as a thought leader. It's going to help parents align more with Montessori. They're going to be able to give you credit for giving them advice that worked for them. So it's great to add value to your book. Another one that's great for adding value is suggestions. They want ideas for activities, games, books, toys that are developmentally appropriate. This gives you a chance to kind of make sure that you're helping these families create an environment that is supportive of their child's education in the home. They can go there for gift ideas. They can look at what are the best developmentally appropriate books I can get my child so they can get better at reading, things like this. So that's another great addition. Also, make it a resource list. So you don't have to go out of your way to create all the resources necessarily. Luckily, we live in a world where there's so much available at our fingertips. You can curate a list of great parenting books, podcasts, and videos. We also have this available in our Montessori Thrive collection. We have an entire list of Montessori parenting podcasts that are 100% free to listen to, parenting books that parents can read for each different stage, or if they just want a foundation on Montessori. We have Montessori videos as well, parenting videos for if you want to offer that as well. So all of these things are just ideas of what you can add, but of course, feel free to add anything in this parent booklet that you think is helpful and will be helpful to families. Any questions or comments? I'm going to pause here. Any ideas of things to add into this, almost like the Holy Grail? And you can, the great thing about it too is once you put this together, you basically can just use it year after year. Maybe you can add an extra page or two if you find it useful, or if a new question arises in the community. But really, once you put the time and effort into making it, you can just keep using it every year. So that's what's great about it. I want everyone as well, when they think about their parenting education strategy, to really think about value. So your aim is to have parents who are invested in learning more about Montessori. A lot of times, like some parents, they want to take a peek again of what's going on in the classroom, but they really want something that they can apply in their home day to day. You really have to think about what challenges they're having. This is what's going to make them listen and keep listening. If they read a blog article about toilet training from your website that they implemented in their house and it worked, they're much more likely to then listen to what else you have to put out there. They're more willing to come to more parenting sessions. So ask yourself these questions when you're putting together the courses or the resources that you're sharing with families in your community, because this will make it a lot easier to make valuable information for parents. Also think about accessibility. Before we dive into this, I want to ask a question. Have you noticed this to be a challenge in your community in that parents just, they never read the email, or they say they don't see the messages, or they don't check the calendar frequently enough? Has this happened at your community before? I see here in the chat, oh yes, frequently, every time. Yeah, I think it's something we can all relate to. It's happened at pretty much every school. It used to happen all the time at the Montessori school that we worked at, and our teachers worked really hard to put together a calendar. We would use Remind 101 as well, as many platforms as possible, and then still people would fall through the cracks. I think we have to accept, again, this is managing expectations from our end, that there's so much going on. There's so many ads that parents see every day, so many emails that they're seeing every day, so many distractions that they have every day, that it's important to get creative and think about accessibility when it comes to your parenting education. You can still find ways to help them tune in to your community. It doesn't hurt to kind of cover all bases. So have a parent resource section on your website that's there 24/7 when they need it. Tell parents about this consistently, and whenever you get new resources, add them to that web page, or your booklet, your Holy Grail booklet. Have a contact list of parenting coaches, therapists, and experts to refer families to as well. Especially if, they're always calling you and your school for support, and they need a parenting coach clearly, or they need additional advice that your school doesn't have the resources to give. Make sure you have all of that information available. You can also add this to your webpage of parent resources. Send reminder 101s, email, social posts, report important news and updates. I'm sure you all already do this. Get creative about your parenting events. I think it was a few town halls ago that we had a school that shared that whenever they had a parenting night or an event at Carpool, they would have all of their teachers put on like a neon t-shirt that said, like, ask about our parenting event tonight, as the final reminder, so that every parent that was at the Carpool, they knew, they knew that the parenting event was going on that night. They had that final reminder, and that kind of image sticks in their mind a little bit more. So getting creative about these things and the way that we get our news across is going to help. Obviously, it's going to be impossible. There's always going to be parents who fall through the crack. It's not our fault on our end. We've done everything we can, but it's important to get creative. And if anyone else has any of those kind of fun and quirky reminder ideas, feel free to drop them in the chat. I'll never forget that one. I thought the idea was so great. Sometimes parents need an in-person visual to remind them.
Camila, I know one thing that we used to do also at our school is we would take attendance of the parents who did attend, and then anybody who didn't would get a follow-up email or phone call, even say, hey, I'm sorry we missed you, or we missed you at, last night, just so that they know that you noticed that they weren't there. And you can be very polite about it, like, can I send you information that we handed out, or whatever it is. But just sort of acknowledging, so they know that they were missed. So I think that's also a really powerful tool. It's not going to help for that current one, but it might help for the next event.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Because ultimately what we want is for them to get that information, and then maybe to be encouraged to come in for the next one. Make them feel a little bit accountable, maybe just a little bit guilty for not showing up. All right, parenting courses. A lot of you mentioned when I started this presentation that you already do this to some extent. You already host parenting events or classes, but this is really going that extra mile. Parent courses are a great way to offer support and education in a way that feels a little bit more personal, like, they're learning directly from you. It resonates a little bit more sometimes than what you can put in a booklet. And they can ask questions, which is really great as well. So you can have your teachers or guides offer courses throughout the year. Obviously, a lot of our teachers are burnt out. So kind of, see how their workload is, see how they're feeling. We're also experiencing a big Montessori staff shortage, so we don't want to push our staff over the edge necessarily, but if they're willing and happy to help parents, it's great to have courses. Plus, you can encourage them by maybe providing some slides for them and just saying all you have to do is present these and answer any parent questions. But this can be a great way to support your parent community. You can also invite consultants and coaches to present to families. Usually they'll charge a fee for this, but sometimes it's well worth it because, they do this for a living. They're really great and they have so much experience specifically working with parents. So they're going to offer them so much valuable information that's applicable in the home. There's so many Montessori trained parenting coaches that are willing to give parenting courses. Some of them might even be willing to do it for free. If you're able to negotiate, maybe you can get clients out of this. Maybe our parents will be interested in contacting you. Depends on your pitch, but I see here, Jill, there's usually a small percentage that don't, I see, it's from the earlier messages. Okay. Sorry, just wanted to make sure I was reading through the chat. But yes, you can definitely invite consultants and coaches. This is a great solution as well if you're really feeling that your teachers are just burnt out and too tired to offer an after-hours parenting course. Just get a consultant or a coach to do it. You could also pre-record yourself going through a PowerPoint or a presentation and send it to families, asking them to watch it. Maybe teachers, they feel a little bit more flexible when they have an in-service day or they don't have students in the classroom. Maybe they're just spending the day organizing their shelves and putting out new lessons. And then they can maybe sit for an hour and record a parenting course rather than doing it after working hours. And again, they can pre-record themselves going through a PowerPoint and you can send that out to parents, ask them to watch it, follow up with them to make sure that they saw the course or check in with them. This one might be a little bit lower engagement. That's the only negative. And of course, a lot of you guys are already doing this as well, which is to host a Zoom presentation. This is just like a virtual parenting course. You can also do it live where you can answer questions. Great thing about this is parents don't have to worry about what they're going to do with their children. They don't have to get a sitter to come in after hours. So it's a great solution for that. Any other ideas or comments for parenting courses? You guys already shared some really great ones, like the silent journey as well, things like that. All of this kind of, it counts as a parenting course where they're coming in and they're seeing a little bit more about what Montessori looks like. All right, so parenting course resources, we can help you, and we've got parenting ed resources that can save you time. I'm going to do a little tour now of our resource collection. So first and foremost, we have our parent workshop presentation slides. So for those of you who maybe don't want to take the time to put together a slideshow, we have a few here that are applicable. We have our Montessori 101 workshop, which is the presentation slides are just focusing on the Montessori foundations, things like what are sensitive periods, why is the environment so important, why do we have mixed age classrooms, things like that. Montessori at home, the prepared environment, so how parents can set up a friendly Montessori environment in their home. Implementing positive parenting, which is often what we use in the classroom, which is positive discipline or natural consequences. Positive parenting workshop, presentation slides. We have 2 versions. They're both really good. I see here a comment. The bottom of some emails, I will ask a question about something that is mentioned in the email, such as what is the first day for pizza? And the first person to respond wins a prize, usually a gift card. Keeps parents on their toes and encourages them to read the emails carefully. That's a great idea. I love that. Yeah.
Elizabeth also had a suggestion here. She has a little to-go coffee cup with event info inside to hand out in the car line.
That's great.
Yeah, that's a great idea too.
This is why we host these meetings, is so people can share their ideas and then inspire other schools. Yeah, so we have all of our parenting workshop presentation slide decks. Again, our resource exchange works so that if you want a certain presentation, You can ask us to create it, and then we'll ask the community to see if someone already has it, or we'll just make it and add it to the collection. We also have our virtual parenting series recordings. I'll talk a little bit about this in the next slide, but basically twice a year we host a virtual parenting series where we invite coaches and consultants to come and talk to parents online. Parents can join in on Zoom for free. It doesn't cost them anything. And they can learn from these coaches. And we recorded all of the sessions. So if you want to share the recordings with your parents community, each one has a 40 to 45-minute presentation from a parenting coach about an important parenting topic or a Montessori topic. So you can also share those with your community as video resources. You can reference them yourself for inspiration for creating your own parenting courses. They're really great, and we've had some incredible Montessorians on board to share their experiences. So I highly recommend taking a look through those. Also, we have our parenting documents, and we have more classes, so more presentation slide decks. So this is, some of them are downloadable documents that you can add to your booklet, like the Montessori dictionary, Montessori from the start, a discussion guide if you want to do like an open forum parenting event. We have a Montessori at home shopping guide for parents who maybe want to get a few Montessori essentials for their home or want gift ideas for their child. We have a few more parenting presentation slide. We have some of the infographics that we were talking about, some blogs that you could post. We even have some podcasts. We have also a list of Montessori podcasts for parenting education that are all free for parents to access. So all of these are tools as well that you can share. Yeah, and like I said, stay tuned for our live virtual parenting courses. We organize these every October and February so that your families can join and learn for free. We started doing these in, I think it was 2020. So they've been going on for a few, we've had a few of these series now. And they're the ones I mentioned here where we have the recordings in our collection now, but we're going to be hosting a parenting night every Wednesday night of October from 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern. So mark your calendars. We're going to be going live with our registration page very shortly so your parents can sign up for free. If you're a Montessori Thrive member, please keep an eye out for any email from us, because we're going to be sending out all of our speakers. We have some great speakers returning. We have some new speakers who are coming to join us for the first time. All of them are Montessori trained and really amazing. And they're going to be teaching parents so that you don't have to organize the event. These are also recorded so parents can access the recordings if they can't make the live sessions. But this is our way of helping schools with parent education. We know it's a huge task and it takes a lot of work to put these events together. So yes, every Wednesday night from 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern, we'll be live on Zoom. Parents will be able to join in from their computer, their phone, and at the end of the presentation, they'll be able to ask our presenters questions. I see some thank yous. Yeah, so we look forward to seeing your parent community there. Like I said, we'll be sharing our news very shortly. All right, any questions, comments, ideas? I'm gonna stop sharing my screen shortly. I just wanted to leave this up for a second. For anyone who needs any additional resources for their school. I know things have just kicked off for many of you. You guys are just getting a start on this academic year, but if at any point you need a certain resource for your school, let us know. You can email me here. I am the one who is in charge of our resource collection. So if there's something that you need, just contact me. If there's a town hall topic you'd like to see, let me know. I'll do my best on trying to find a speaker, an expert, or somebody who can share their advice. I also wanted to put in our schedule a free consultation call link. I'll add the link here as well in the chat. It's a bit easier that way. For those of you who maybe want to talk specifically about marketing, specifically about growing your enrollment, you can reach out to us and we'll talk about websites. We'll talk about ads, things like that with you to help you grow your enrollment. That's something you're interested in. But I just want to open it up now. I'll stop sharing my screen. So we can open it up to discussion and any other questions, comments, ideas that you have on parent education. I know it's a big topic in Montessori. Usually September is not quite when we have our parenting education courses. If I'm not wrong, I think most people start thinking about this once parents are a little bit more settled in. So maybe you guys are gearing up for a few parent events. Holly, I see your hand raised.
Well, I think it's really important that you make it fun. You entice people to come. You make it an event that they want to be there, and you slip in some information. So, I mean, like we've done. If we're trying to have them all in house now, we're done with Zoom, other than something like this. So we want to have them come in. We want them to come and touch the materials just like we want their children to. And so we'll have we're going to have our first ones next week in the children's houses, and we'll sometimes we'll put a little prize underneath a chair, and at the end of the evening, there you go, you win a little prize or something like that. We try and have some icebreakers. We have one of our staff members very good at researching icebreakers, some little game to play at the beginning. There's a lot of them on Pinterest and whatever. So I think it's really important that it's not just a time of exchanging information. Certainly we do slip that in there. I certainly do have hour-long meetings with prospective parents. I screen them before we meet the children. But I think so that's when they get the message that we're serious about what we do, but we like to have fun in that process. So I think it is important that we, particularly as we learn to come back into a community, maybe have refreshments. We're having having that discussion now. Let's have something, some kind of yummy refreshment for the parents as well, and make it so that they want to come in.
Yeah, definitely. I think adding incentives and making it fun is going to make people want to come back and keep people really engaged and excited about the events. I think you don't want them to leave overwhelmed and bored and feeling like they're doing everything wrong as a parent. You want them to feel like they've had fun. They've taken away some information, but they've also made some connections with other parents, teachers. So that's great. I think Sarah here is agreeing with you. She says, just what she's saying right now, we have done a few more fun events like outdoor gardening parties, family yoga, etc., that have had a higher attendance than with the audience already there. We can speak in theory. That's a great strategy as well. Just lead with a fun event, lead with the social aspect, and then tie in the Montessori learning. I think especially now, people want connection after the past 2 years that we've had. They're craving that connectivity to their community. They really want to talk to other parents, to be a part of something. So it's a great strategy. Thank you.
I also encourage teachers to collect funny stories from the classroom. There's something, really sweet and darling that some child did, or some confusion that happened. Sometimes, maybe particularly in the first week of school, you hear some funny things that the teachers are saying to the children. Like I remember having to tell a child, please take the celery out of your socks. So you share those with parents and get them laughing, and that's how we make our connections.
Love that. Any other fun ideas, strategies?
Rosine, you can, yeah.
I kind of was in and out, so I'm just going to throw two things. It might have been said, I might have missed. But every year I do a parenting toolkit on a Sunday morning, because especially for first year families, they pretty much all come because there's someone at home with the child and or children. And basically it's couched in Montessori, but it's also basic skills, and it's a lot of storytelling. So that's been helpful. And on the elementary level, in September, we do one on social development, because as children transition from primary to elementary, they become huge tattletalers and they live in those absolute worlds. He always did it. He never sits with me, blah, 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 blah. So we started this about, I don't know, it could be 10 years where, because we would always get emails and calls about this is happening all the time. So what we did is got ahead of it and explained social development on the elementary level. And all those emails and calls have, for the most part, disappeared because we've set the stage for that. So those are two things that we've done that have been pretty successful.
Yeah, thank you. That's great.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's important too to mix in like just general parenting information, which is kind of what you were talking about with
Especially now.
with Montessori, right? With Montessori theory kind of stuff too, not, you know, because that's really where parents really feel it, right? When they're home and their child is on the floor having a tantrum and they don't really know, like, how do I deal with this? And so because you all are experts on child development, I mean, you can really speak to that very well. And I think that's the kind of information parents really value a lot.
If I can add one more thing, and I haven't figured it out yet, but I have heard a little bit in the summer, a little bit now, that this idea that children are far behind academically, that they're expecting this catch up, right? And I think as a school, we have to come up, or as schools, we have to come up with language to get ahead of this, because this is what is starting to happen. You know, my child was here and my child at 2 years, 5 months doesn't feel challenged, whatever that means. But the point, getting ahead of that, because that's the next thing that's coming now. And I don't know how to do that yet. I'm figuring it out, but I think that's another piece which is really important. So
I think a lot of parents are feeling anxiety and this worry because of the last 2 years that we've had were very unusual. And I mean, you probably all noticed it with some of the families are maybe having a more difficult time adjusting, or they have different expectations, different worries or concerns, just why parent education is especially important now. So that's a great point. Any other observations of kind of how parents are acting towards the community, or what they're looking for from their community, at least at your schools? Do you feel that they're really looking for guidance? Do they need a lot of extra hand-holding? Are they maybe pestering, asking a lot more questions, anything like that?
I think that what we've noticed is that, yes, parents are probably a little bit more anxious than they have been. But exactly what Rosine was saying, putting things ahead of it, you know, before they actually happen, really, really helps. So, you know, before we actually started the school year, we had sort of a welcome back kind of social event per class, and allowed the parents to ask some of these very urgent questions that, if not, just inundate the first day of school. And it worked very well. And I think that when they dropped their kids off, they were feeling better. They were, you know, they felt like it was a known entity that they were walking into, particularly when some of these parents had never been in our classrooms until then. So it was like an incredible relief to them that what they had trusted for a couple of years actually turned out to be what they had hoped for.
Right. That's great. I mean, that's good that they felt that sense of relief. Yeah. I see here from Jill, I hear the words COVID baby a lot. They need extra hand holding. Yes, I think that resonates with a lot of a lot of the people here. Kristen says we've been focusing on how this philosophy allows us to work with the level that the child is at compared to the regular system. I think that's great to really inform parents that why a big reason why Montessori is different than other educational formats is that it follows the child. So listening and observing, even if you have, these COVID babies who, maybe spend a little bit more time at home than previous classes or students before them, it just takes some observing, some adjusting, and then they will adapt. All right, any other final questions or comments? If you joined the meeting later as well, the recording for this town hall will be up shortly, so you can look at it or reference it. And if you have any questions about resources, again, you can reach out to me via email. I'll drop my email in here one last time. We'll be back next week for another town hall, so hopefully we'll see you there. And I hope that you have a great week, a great rest of your week. Great Friday.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.